was really awesome. We had some nice suggestion for BN Plus. I was watching Fenerbahce and Panathinaikos game in Istanbul, and during the halftime, one Fenerbahce fan approached me. We had a short chat. He mentioned something about BN Plus, which is already cool that he knows that we have this platform. And he said he actually had a nice suggestion for BN Plus members to make this every 2 weeks Ataman impersonation by Rytis. That's a nice business plan, I think. We would kind of double our BN Plus members.
I would run out
of
ideas in 2 weeks' time. Like
maybe let's do it like a monthly entertainment program, like 5 minutes
included in the
or one segment.
Well, if there's something spectacular happening around Ataman, then obviously, like the incident with Sharas and the hidden cameras and everything, I could do that. But if it's just on daily basis,
I actually thought about it when that incident happened and we didn't have you on the pod. I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I want to see Rytis making this shot.
We need to hear more timeouts of Ataman, very well talking and just instructing to his players, because if we don't hear him talk actually, like in the press conferences, I mean, he usually says something, but
in these team huddles, he's not so emotional, I would say. He's not expressing him so much.
When the cameras are not on him.
I don't know. It's different. In press conferences, he kind of gets into another level.
Okay, let's stop the disrespect, guys.
Yeah. Let's stop the hate. There was also another more random situation. I was in GNG Syndikatas concert this weekend. This is like a veteran hip-hop group, let's say, for our European listeners. And I met German guy who is, I don't know if he was a husband or he's just dating Lithuanian lady who's also our BN Plus member, but just on Lithuanian edition. But anyways, he's listening to our podcast. He sent best wishes to you guys as well. He said that we're doing a good job, and since his lady's girlfriend is BN Plus member on Lithuanian platform, so he's able to listen to our Q&A podcast and stuff. So it was a very random thing, to meet him in GNG Syndikatas in Lithuania. So that's cool. That's cool.
A random Saturday fact.
And we have, talking about Saturday facts, weekend facts, we have Champ in our studio,
in
right?
The house.
Yeah,
Champ is
the
here.
Lithuanian champion.
Champ is here.
I think I've...
When is the ring ceremony?
I have the medal. I didn't bring it here, but I'm pretty sure I'm a unique person in the sense that I'm a Lithuanian journalist champion in football and in basketball.
Really?
Yep. I was the goalkeeper for our team 2 years ago when we last played a championship for journalists. And yesterday we had the basketball tournament, and we were the underdogs, so we were really lucky to win it all. But somehow we did it. We won in the group stage. We barely qualified by winning the last game by 1 point, and they had the last shot, and they were so close. And then we won the semis, and in the final somehow we had a 49-year-old superstar on our roster. He was carrying the whole team, and he was the MVP of the tournament. I was just a role player.
That 49-year-old is moving like 30-year-old guy.
Sometimes like
That's
25.
amazing.
It's like Mindaugas Lukauskis, right?
Something like that.
Close to that. Like when I'm 49, probably I will need help to get up from the bed. Not to say that
let's hope
play
not.
basketball, but the guy is just a machine. Wow. So much respect. He's actually my colleague commentator. He also is a EuroLeague commentator for our local broadcaster.
Speaking of your rare milestone of winning championships both in football and basketball,
yep.
I was in Fenerbahce museum, which was just opened for the fans recently, and they had a legendary, let's say, player who also, I don't want to be wrong with this, but I think he was also a football player who started also playing basketball, and he also, won and did good things in both departments. So
that was probably in the 50s?
Yeah,
60s?
60s, 70s, 50s, something like that. Wow. That's nice. So you're probably the second person after him winning something like
Rytis,
that.
we should make a social media post like Rytis is the youngest active Lithuanian to win both championships,
The first
the
Lithuanian.
first youngest active after Luka Doncic.
And don't add a disclaimer that it's just a journalist tournament with very amateur players. Let's not
Or
talk.
just with a short note somewhere in the comments.
Nah, we're not gonna get into those details. We're just gonna say that I'm the champ. That's it.
I think that London Lions, they have a player on the roster who previously was pretty good in tennis. He was a pro tennis player before entering basketball. So,
Wow.
Well, in the final, when the game was tied, I actually hit a very big bucket, a big free. So I can say I contributed a little bit in the semifinal.
you're like
also.
Chris Singleton, delivering
Except
when it
I don't
matters.
play any defense.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Chris also, during the regular season, he's also saving him up.
Just only when it matters.
Actually, my tactical decision was key and instrumental to winning this tournament, because in the first game in the group stage, we lost by 17. And then I looked at my teammates and said, guys, we don't have a bench. I don't have any legs. Why are we playing man-to-man defense? We have to go to free zone. That's the only way.
Easy.
And we went throughout the whole tournament from that moment playing 2 free zone, and that's why we won, because our opponents just barely could make any shots.
I think that guy was John Bartu. He played basketball. He was a 6-time international representative of the national basketball team in Turkey, and then he also played for Turkish football club.
Not so long ago, there was a guy in Netherlands. He actually played.
He played in Lazio. Wow, Fiorentina. Man, what a career! It was like in 50s and 60s.
Okay, so
that's nice.
There was a guy in Netherlands. He played for the national team, and he actually played against Lithuania. I think like 5 or 4 years ago. But before he started playing basketball, he actually played football in Dutch second division, I believe. But then he went to the NCAA and played some college ball and a little bit of pro ball. I know that Netherlands is not like the elite country of basketball, but there is this guy, I just don't remember his name. Okay. Switching sports is difficult, but sometimes I catch myself thinking like these super athletes like LeBron or Giannis, they could do well in many sports, in the Olympics, for example. Or watching the FIFA World Cup, I'm always thinking about like Alphonso Davies or Kylian Mbappe winning a gold medal in athletics in 100 meters or 200 meters. I could see that happening.
Yeah, speaking of football, because Rytis is commentating FIFA World Cup games, he's kind of a rare co-host on our show. He was a rare co-host on the show recently, so it's going to be interesting to hear your thoughts about the EuroLeague. Today we're going to talk about perfect Fenerbahce Istanbul start, also Panathinaikos winning consecutive games for the first time this season. Another disappointing week in Milan, some other stuff related to Italian basketball, but let's start with the winners. Let's start with our contributors. Fenerbahce fan had this idea for making Ataman impressions every Q&A pod. We'll see what we will do with it, but you can join our community on basketnews.com/plus, and big shout outs to our GM and All-Star subscribers. Paulius Tinteris, Hoopman, Christers P, and Gabrielius Serva. So basketnews.com/plus. Join us and you'll get a lot of great features, including betting tips, video breakdowns, Q&A pods, and a lot of other stuff. Fenerbahce Istanbul, winning 9 games at the start of the season. The record is 9-1. It's the first time in 3 years we have such a great start in the EuroLeague. And actually, since the new EuroLeague format was introduced, only 3 teams before had that kind of record. The last time it was Fenerbahce and CSKA in 2018 and 19 season. And if you remember, CSKA won the EuroLeague that year. Fenerbahce went on the best, I think it was the best regular season record, 25-5. And the first time it happened probably in the inaugural season of the new format, CSKA also started the season 9-1. This record makes me also confident about my bold prediction, expecting Fenerbahce to make the EuroLeague final. But anyways, guys, I wanted to hear your thoughts. What do you like the most about this record, about Fenerbahce's game at the start of the season? What makes them so good?
To me, it's how well they play so early. It's I did not expect them to play so well so early, to be honest. There's another also flip side of this. Can they keep this type of play and can they improve significantly during the season? But for me, it's just how well each player has found its place on the team. Nicolaitis is revived. Nigel Hayes-Davis seems also revived after his stint in Barcelona. These two are shooting much better. Dimitris Itoudis has used all the players to its strengths. For example, Marko Guduric is a much better version of himself than he was last season. John Motley is playing probably even better than we have expected him to play before the season started. And I'm not even mentioning, Scotty Wilbekin, probably the only player who Melli Mamutoglu has had some amazing games after even not playing in some of them to start the game. So to me, every player that steps on the court is used to its strengths. And defensively, we all know that Itoudis is a master of just setting up his team for success. So they're playing basketball that is more suited for Nicolaitis. That is one of the reasons why he's playing at such a high level. You could even potentially see him, in the MVP race. I know his numbers are not that, let's say, points average are not that impressive, but just the way he manages the team, the way he sees everything, what is happening on the court is simply amazing. So Itoudis has all the players playing to his strengths, and to me, it's really amazing to watch.
And let's not forget that they are leading the standings, and we're talking about their great basketball without Nemanja Bjelica even playing a single minute yet. And he's going to come back eventually. Because right now what we're seeing is also Daishon Pierre was out, so Hayes-Davis had to play even more minutes in the third and in the fourth positions. And he is slowly becoming the most consistent spot-up shooter in the EuroLeague, actually. Whenever he gets a spot-up shot, he hits it. I was working with Fenerbahce Monaco game. That game was just pure quality, actually, from both sides. And the Fenerbahce players gave a lot of respect to Monaco for making the comeback. And in the end, it was decided by the last shot. Mike James could have sent it to overtime. But Hayes-Davis was just hitting absolutely every single shot in that game. They also had help from Carson Edwards. It's his first season in Europe. Sometimes he has these runs, but in some games he's playing very short minutes and barely gets any shots.
You can just see that he still needs some time to understand fully how the game is played.
But in this double game week against Monaco, he really provided a lot of help, especially in the first half when Scotty Wilbekin was kind of struggling. And in the second game in Milan, it was different. Edwards barely contributed to scoring, but then again, Hayes-Davis, 22 points. Nicolaitis running the show and all these other things that they are doing. Actually, I think they can be even better defensively than they are right now. There's still some room for improvement, but it's just the fact that this team is about good spacing, about players playing to their strengths, as you said, and also Jonathan Motley, obviously a EuroLeague rookie that is like exceeding all the expectations so far.
He is playing on a first or second team, that type of level, all EuroLeague
for sure. Right now, you could say he's the best center from what we've seen this season so far. Because
I agree, and I don't see a lot of competition even at the end of the season. If he keeps being consistent or at least close to that level, what do we have at the center position? Walter Tavares, and then
of course, there's always Tavares, but so far Tavares hasn't been that dominant. In my opinion. And Motley is just every single night he is close to a double-double. He's a beast, and what I love about him is his passing abilities. Actually, he's one of those bigs that can easily react to a double team and kick the ball to the perimeter and
He's
find an open
so
shooter.
great at passing.
Yep, exactly.
Especially like after a roll, he rolls to the rim, he gets the pass from Nick or from Scotty Wilbekin. He sees like 4 players, 3 players around him, and he's so good at passing the ball back to an open 3-point shooters. That's why actually their 3-point percentage is amazing. Like you can, I'm looking now, it is Scotty Wilbekin at 41%, Melli Mamutoglu is at 47%, Nigel Hayes-Davis at 43%,
Kalaitis 50.
Kalaitis 50%, and Goodrich at 40%. This is, some of these players are not known as 3-point shooters.
Yep.
So this is a testament to how great their shot selection is. But also, it's a question for you guys, for me. Can they keep up this shooting throughout the whole season?
No, for sure not.
For me, it's impossible that Nick Kalaitis, is shooting 50%.
His numbers are going to go down. Hayes-Davis numbers are going to go down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Fenerbahce is going to go down.
Yeah.
Like they're building a very solid result at the moment. They're leading the standings. And as we've talked many times, it's not about winning the regular season. It's more about getting the home court advantage, and every win counts. And right now they're in a very good position. Well, again, Itudis starts with these big lineups, Devin Booker playing as a power forward. And I actually love Tony Jakiri as a backup center. I think this is a perfect role for him to be a backup center in a good EuroLeague team, and not necessarily being the main center on an average EuroLeague team. I think
he doesn't need to do too much.
Yep, exactly. This role is perfect for him, in my opinion, and it's another good signing by Fenerbahce, actually building this roster. And I'm just so curious to see how they will play with Nemanja Bjelica, because you will have another excellent passer, another phenomenal high IQ basketball player with plenty of skills as well. Even though he's a veteran, I think he still has a lot to offer in the EuroLeague.
Yeah, Fenerbahce, they're first in offensive rating, second in defensive rating. They have the best true shooting percentage. And watching them play, watching them making shots at that level, for me, it says a lot about their confidence, I would say. Confidence in a lot of different areas. It starts with the confidence playing their roles. I think watching this team, you kind of feel that all these players, they know their roles and they accept their roles. For example, they accept Nick Kalaitis as their floor general. He has the keys of his team, and he feels amazing having this freedom, having this confidence coming from Itudis. Then there's Scotty Wilbekin. I think that I'm right to say that he is forcing way less shots when before in Maccabi, and it also comes to the situation.
He doesn't need to.
Exactly, he doesn't need to. He's being put in good situations. He has a great ball handler next to him, and now he can focus on his strengths. All the other players, John Motley, Nigel Hayes-Davis, everybody else, I just think that they're accepting their roles. Maybe it's tough for Carson Edwards to understand his role so far in the team. Sometimes he's sitting on the bench entire first half. Sometimes he's sitting on the bench entire game against Red Star, for example. But the good thing is that the next game, he's coming off the bench and scoring 12 important points to boost his team. And for sure, he will adjust throughout the season. And if Nemanja Bjelica is a big upgrade potential, room for improvements, looking at for the rest of the season, Carson Edwards, you can also put him on the same page, somebody who will improve their game. But I think it says a lot about their confidence, which also translates into shooting the ball. And I tried to talk with some people. Is there anything particular coming from Itudis' side? Because it reminded me, watching how Kalaitis shoots the ball, of course, these numbers, these are not, I wouldn't say standard numbers, but it will be probably impossible to keep that level up, and it's normal. But then you see, Nigel Hayes-Davis being very confident beyond the arc. And I remember that when Will Clyburn joined CSKA many years ago, he wasn't known as a long-range threat. He was a very average shooter at Darussafaka, but suddenly he became a pretty reliable player to shoot the ball from the free. And when I see Nigel Hayes-Davis, other guys, I try to dig out, what's so special about Itudis, and opposite from many other head coaches in EuroLeague, usually if you're taking a bad shot or if you're making too many shots, if you're forcing some shots, the main idea is, okay, if you're going to be too aggressive with the ball, you're going to sit on the bench. I mean, that's it. That's the rules. That's our game plan. You have to, fit the system. In the Tudis team, it's, I would say, vice versa. I don't say that he's allowing and tolerating forced shots, but he says if you're not taking that shot, you're sitting on the bench. It's a bit opposite psychology. And they're also working a lot of extra off the floor. There's always assistant coaches after the practice helping players to shoot. Sometimes there's even Dimitris Atudis just passing the ball to the players, which is not so common here in the EuroLeague. I remember, for example, in Will's case, when he was just trying to find his shots in the practices, Itudis was putting some special situations like ordering all the players to go under against Will to kind of, psychologically to force that shot, to shoot that ball. And it also helped him to gain that confidence. So there's a lot of confidence in this team in both ways. The level of execution against Monaco, for example, was just amazing, was just really great level. But there's a lot of what's behind this amazing shooting numbers. And it starts from Atudis, but I don't want to put all the spotlights only on the head coach because this whole team, this whole roster, they're just doing really good job so far.
And Donatas, you asked me about why Nick Kalaitis is, what did change from Barcelona to Fenerbahce, why he's playing so well. I tried to look at some numbers, obviously, just watching the video, and to compare the numbers, at first, Barcelona played post-ups last year 14% of their offenses. Fener is playing 6%. So that's obviously fits better Kalaitis because, nobody has to go to help from him. And then he has to force these, 3-point shots. And obviously he was questioning more himself probably when playing under Sharas because, the importance that Jasikevicius gives to every shot. Then Fenerbahce plays 19% with pick and roll game, like pick and roll handler, where he finishes the attack, whereas in Barcelona it was only 14%, and in transition Fener finishes their 12% of their attacks, while Barcelona finished only 8%. So these three categories, you see, one of the reasons why Nick is playing that much better. Fenerbahce is playing more to his strengths and less to his weaknesses. And then just watching the game, to me, one moment that stood out the most against Monaco, it was against Monaco, simply his vision for the game. He is scanning the court all the time. And for example, he sees Scottie Wilbekin in the opposite corner. Mike James has his back turned to the ball. He just throws this pass over the top of his head, and Mike James doesn't expect the ball to arrive right now to Scottie Wilbekin. Scottie gets the ball, drives easily past Mike because, Mike is not expecting him to get the ball, kicks it out to Hayes Davis, open three. And you can see this happening in so many situations, like he's scanning the court in transition, finding Hayes Davis. It was like four situations where Nick was responsible for Nigel Hayes Davis getting a wide open three. And probably he got an assist only on one or two of those situations. But he is the leader of that team. He is dictating the tempo, everything. And just, for me, it's so nice to see how Itudis is letting him be the general.
And I think Nick has an underrated skill, which is not really talked about because we're always talking about his court vision. It's when he's driving to the paint, the way he hits those runners. And you could call them floaters, but he doesn't even need to jump.
He's like
veteran floater.
He's like running in front and then shooting.
Exactly. That's so underrated because he doesn't need to jump for the floater or a runner, whatever you call it. And he uses the backboard very well also. That helps him to finish, not necessarily with layups, but with these type of shots. And I don't see too many players with that skill in Europe.
And August, you mentioned Kalaitis possibly being in an MVP conversation, but because of his, let's say, low numbers, he won't be there probably at the end of the season. But he kind of reminds me Kostas Lukas type of player, and the importance he has in Fenerbahce, because we're all talking about Sasha Vezenkov playing amazing basketball. Other guys performing at the top level, team being one of the best teams in the EuroLeague, but the importance that Nikolaidis has, it also has a lot to do with everybody else confidence. As you mentioned, how Nigel Hayes-Davis is benefiting from that situation, how Wilbekin is benefiting, John Motley himself. So he's really important figure for that team.
Okay, a question for you guys. If I know it's early, but if Fener win the regular season by 5 wins from the second place, who is getting the MVP? And let's say Olympiacos are second and Monaco are 4th, 5th.
Vezenkov. If Olympiacos makes it to the second seed and Vezenkov keeps putting up these numbers, he's still the MVP.
Yeah, okay. It's not about the margin between Fenerbahce and the rest of the group, and especially when Fenerbahce doesn't have that single leader who stands out in all the categories. I mean,
John Motley is scoring 14 points and he has 6 rebounds and 2 assists, the efficiency of 17. Nikolaidis has 10 points, 5 rebounds and 6 assists, 1.5 steals. But yeah, you're probably right. Like you
have good arguments, yeah.
You don't give a player who averages 10 points.
Vezenkov is just so much ahead of everybody else.
Having crazy numbers.
Crazy numbers and crazy impact on every game he plays.
Yeah, and Olympiacos being the second seeded team is already, a big overachievement in the whole picture of the EuroLeague powerhouses.
This
and he doesn't
highlight reel when he killed Alba Berlin without dribbling the ball. It was something amazing, really.
Yeah.
It was something.
It reminded me of Klay Thompson. Exactly.
I wanted to say the same.
Klay Thompson playing that legendary quarter against the Sacramento Kings, where he had like 3 dribbles, I believe, or 2 dribbles, and he scored how many?
37.
37, right? Wow.
Yeah. So that's all about Fenerbahce, right?
Probably, yeah.
You don't have anything to add?
We spent quite a lot of time talking about them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to talk about. Okay, there's also another team on a kind of winning streak. We cannot call it a winning streak, but at least it's winning consecutive games, and it's a big thing for Panathinaikos. Although there are more teams like that. For example, we saw FS making a turnaround, starting off with that Barcelona game, and they won 3 in a row already. Real Madrid, by the way, they're also on a good run. They won 5 games in a row, and I think that it all started when the first rumors about Chus Mateo being on a hot seat has started. And when I thought about that situation, just my short, my 5 cents about that situation, I remember there was this report that's, Chus Mateo is on a hot seat. Alexander Djordjevic and Andrea Trinchieri are the main favorites to change Chus Mateo. More I think about that situation and that report, for me, it feels like maybe it was kind of leaked on purpose, because by that time the report was published, I knew for sure that Sasha Djordjevic is already going to China national team. The first reporters starting, they were getting right there about this potential move. But from what I heard, the deal was already done. So, Djordjevic was already out of consideration. And there was probably no way that Trinchieri could switch teams during the season unless some incredible buyout was offered. And let's say Bayern owner couldn't turn down that offer. But where I'm going to, that situation and the replacement of Chus Mateo was kind of impossible. So maybe it was just a way, to motivate the group, motivate the coach or whatsoever, because sometimes teams, owners, GMs do things like that. But anything.
It's not like Real Madrid are winning because Chus Mateo started coaching better.
Yeah, that's true. But
if any of you guys saw Real Madrid Partizan game, it was as close as a EuroLeague regular season game can get to a random NBA regular season game. When you see a 40-point quarter, you should get excited, but at the same time, you realize that it's just because there's no defense. And Real Madrid were controlling the game, even though Partizan were hitting a shot after shot after shot. And I almost fell asleep during that game. Actually, I was working with that game, and at the moment I felt really sad because I had to work with this game instead of watching Serbia-Brazil. And it's a high-scoring game, and you should get excited, but you never get excited when you don't see the actual fight, which is EuroLeague, what EuroLeague is famous for. But yeah, Madrid, they're winning games, but they're winning games again because of their quality, because of Canan Musa, what he's doing so far, because of Hezonja having some good performances in that game against Partizan in particular. They're coping really well now without Gershon Yabusele just because they have so many other options.
Gabriel Deck playing the 4,
Gabi Deck, even Petr Corneli being a useful player as a stretch 4. So those rumors about Chus Mateo, I don't know where they came from, but the fact is Chus Mateo is not going to be a different coach than what he is right now, and they're going to play the same way throughout the regular season. Let's just see how far they can go, but they have a deepest roster in Europe.
It's not maybe about coach being a difference maker in that situation. It's more of a, let's say, showing that somebody is working and somebody's concerned inside the club and they're thinking all the possible scenarios and they're also unhappy. I think it's more related to that. Some mind games that sometimes clubs and GMs do. But by the way, I had this idea. I think we didn't discuss it in Q&A pod, but watching some teams struggle like Real Madrid, Virtus, for sure, Milan, for example, some very deep teams, and we're talking about some very deep teams which has basically 15 players on its roster. I think that Milan already registered 17 players this year.
Milan has 15 players, but they have 13 of them injured.
That's also true.
Like
but
every year is the same story.
Where I'm heading to, there's Fenerbahce leading the competition. There's Olympiacos leading the competition. We just mentioned this roles thing and players, teams, sharing these roles, accepting these roles, knowing their roles. And don't you think that sometimes having too much talent on the team, too many players on a different agenda, it can be a disturbing thing? It can be a distraction in the team?
Sometimes if you're not thinking about, if you don't have a clear idea about your roster, but Olympiacos and Fenerbahce, they are also deep.
I mean, deep, they have like 8, 9...
No, they have 12.
Very solid players.
They have 12. They just have, Fenerbahce has injuries, but Adai, Jean-Pierre, and Nemanja Bjelica, they have 12 players. Olympiacos, Bartzokas, in most games, he uses 11-man rotation, sometimes 12-man rotation. If you add like Tariq Black, for example, as a third center.
Maybe Donatas wants to say that, the 9, 10th, 11, 12 players are not as,
they're not Hezonjas.
They're not Hezonjas, or they're not,
to please 9th, 10th, or 11th
They don't think, these guys, they don't think they could be in the starting 5.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're saying,
because even with Virtus, for example, you have Marco Bellinelli as your one of the top 3 most expensive players on its roster. So it's a different conversation when you have somebody like Laranzakis. Okay, he's performing way better than just like a 9th or 10th player coming off the bench. But some other guys, I don't know, Bolomboy, for example. It's a different conversation. You have so many mouths to feed and to please everybody, and maybe it can be a distraction for those teams and might cost the start of the season.
That's a fair argument. However, Real Madrid, they have proven before with Pablo Lasso that having 15 players works. And sometimes you leave out guys like Coser or Fernandez, even if they're healthy, but no one's complaining, because when you're playing for Real Madrid, it means that you have a guaranteed contract, usually for 3 or 4 years, looking in the future. You're safe even if you get injured, even if you get hurt like Anton Randolph did. He had 2 very serious injuries, but he is under contract
still on the bench
with the greatest organization in Europe. So no one's complaining. They are accepting it. And I don't know, Real Madrid in the past, they have been winning and consistently playing in the Final Four with this idea. It's different with Milan, as Ogi said, because injuries affected them badly last season, and It looks like the same story this year. Now they added Luvavu Kabaro, but if Pangos is injured and he's out, then I think they need another signing.
They will add someone for sure.
Exactly,
in my eyes.
exactly. And it's a different story when you have a deep team with too many similar players. Like Monaco looked like they have this problem last year, but they sorted it when they hired Sasha Obradovic. But in the first part of the season, it was an obvious problem.
Yeah.
So it's hard to build a good chemistry when players are competing too much with each other for minutes on the court. And in Real Madrid, it's different. Like it's when it's the double game week. On Tuesday, Musa plays more minutes and he's the MVP of the game. But then Hezonja knows that on Thursday against Partizan, he's going to get his shots. And then on Sunday in the ACB League, somebody else is going to get his shots. And everyone's happy.
Go, sir. And also, Real Madrid is 7-3. That's tied for the second place as Olympiacos, and Barcelona and Monaco. So
I think Milan has their own problems, and you cannot relate their problems to any other team right now.
No.
So let's get back shortly about Panathinaikos.
Yep.
Oh yeah, sure.
Did you see any, let's say, did you see a significant quality difference in their game? Talking about the last week, they won 2 in a row against Virtus at first, and then as well.
Like you asked me this, you wrote, is it something? That's your question.
Yeah.
Is it something, nothing, or everything? To me, it's between. And we have been receiving messages that we are power haters and stuff like that. So before I answer, I'm not a power hater, but to win against Asvel probably is the worst team at the moment. In my eyes, they probably will finish the season last. So for me, it's between nothing and something because they have to win these games at home. Why it is between nothing and something is because their style of play, how they're playing, I don't see it being sustainable to get into the playoffs, in my eyes. They still have the 4th worst defense in the league, defensive rating. They're 15th, even with Coach Dejan Radonjic. They have great guards that play defense, and they want their bigs really high up in the pick and rolls. But when you need to rotate, it starts to get messy. They are allowing a lot of 3-pointers and stuff like that. And offensively, they are relying on playing at home, playing with those fans, and they're relying on transition opportunities and then one person catching fire, whether that's Dwayne Bacon, whether that's Derek Williams, whether that's Nate Walters, who is playing really well even after coming back after the injury. So it's just not much coming from their offense, because there's so many broken plays where they just give the ball to someone and then it's like, okay, you do something. Okay, now you do something. Okay, now you do something. And then on defense, they're not, as solid as they should be in my eyes. So it was a good win against Virtus, against Asvel. Everybody should win at home against Asvel in my eyes. And to me, they haven't shown enough sustainability
this week
to be in the long run.
They're facing Žalgiris, and I'm kind of confident that Žalgiris is going to win this game.
You're taking Kazis Makskvidis as your coach in fantasy.
I'm considering it for sure. And Žalgiris is 6-4, and we're talking about Panathinaikos being 4-6, about some sort of resurrection. I mean, look, we all know that Derrick Williams will have at least a couple of games where he is shooting the lights out for some reason, and like against Virtus, 26 points. Wow. Then in the other game against Asvel, it's Dwayne Bacon's show. He has 25 points. And of course, Bacon has quality, and there will be games like this. But in the long run, I don't see this as being the winning formula.
And so at least have a winning record. Let's say.
Yeah, exactly. So my opinion about Pau and the way they're playing and where they're going to finish didn't really change, because what they did is they won in Oaxaca against teams that they are supposed to beat.
Yeah.
Especially Asvel. But Virtus also, at home, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be expecting a win in this game, and it was a close game actually. They won it 88-85
in overtime.
So they are still not a good offensive team. I don't think they can be a good offensive team with this roster, and they're always going to be dependent on whether Derek Williams is having a good night or not, and is Dwayne Bacon focused today or not. And these are sort of things that they're kind of difficult to control and predict. So I would not bet on them to have a long winning streak or anything like that. I'm actually expecting Žalgiris to beat them this week.
Yeah, and Derek Williams perfectly illustrates Panathinaikos' home advantage. He's averaging 18 points at home, shooting 57% from the three, and when he's playing away, he's averaging only 10 points on 30% three-point shooting. Although
57 at home?
Yeah, 57.
Wow.
From the three-point line. 55 from the two-point line. I mean, he's playing perfect basketball at home, as in most cases the rest of the Panathinaikos team. Considering the question, whether was it everything, nothing, or something, I think that it was everything for Coach Radonjic to build some confidence among the group, and especially in the eyes of the ownership, management. And it was everything for the entire team to bounce back after this horrible loss against Fenerbahce. We all know that Fenerbahce, okay, they're playing great basketball, and the blowout loss by 30 points is not the indicator of your situation, but I'm talking more about the body language, about how hopeless the team was in Istanbul. So it was important for them to bounce back. It was important for Radonjic to get some confidence, for this group to get some confidence, because against Virtus, there were some great moments, of course, especially in the second half. Not only Derek Williams was shining, but we saw some nice neat floaters moments. We saw Paris Lee playing great defense. Arturas Gudaitis, in my eyes, was very important, coming off the bench and changing the momentum where Papagiannis was struggling once again. So there were some nice stretches, but of course, if we're talking about the long-term goals and being consistent, that's a huge question mark on this team, and probably it will remain the same for the rest of the season.
Donatas, you mentioned body language of Panathinaikos, and you said how hopeless they looked like in Istanbul when they were playing, and you were watching that game live. Yeah. And just now, imagine the difference in your mind. How are they different playing and their body language when they're playing in Oaxaca? And Derek Williams and Dwayne Bacon gets in transition, some easy baskets. I mean, they just look 5 times more happier, 5 times more confident, and it's like watching two different teams play. And there is 1 week separating those two games, and to me, it's a piece of success that you can't really rely. You can't be playing with such different body languages when you're losing and when you are making some shots, because that influences your performance overall very easily. Okay,
let's talk about losing teams. We had some. We already talked. We discussed so much about Milan that August knows that before this pod I was like, should we talk about their situation and their struggles, or it's already enough? At the same time, Milan is suffering the longest losing streak in Ettore Messina era. They're on a 6-game losing streak. I think that's the longest losing streak since 2016 and 17 season. And even coach Messina himself hinted about possible resignation from his position. The exact quote is, "I'm primarily responsible for this team," because he's also not just the head coach, but the president of basketball operations. "If the team plays like this, I feel responsible for putting together a team that doesn't click. Now, the only thing I can do is try to manage the situation in Italy, where everything is still possible, and do better in the second part of the season in EuroLeague. If we keep playing like this, I'll draw my own conclusions, and I'll go to Mr. Armani to tell him that it will be necessary to find another guide for this team." I think that quote came out just after the game against Efes, where the team was whistled by their own fans at the end of the game when they lost by 29. What would be just your general reactions about this quote and about that previous week?
Being booed by your own fans is normal in this situation like this. You're down at home 44-77. And Efes is not a good defensive team. And you just cannot buy a bucket. But we saw these struggles before. We saw them in Kaunas when they were here, and they couldn't make a shot. And I actually counted their shots, watching the footage of the game afterwards. From the first 16 3-pointers they took, 10 were open, spot-up shots without even dribbling the ball. And they were 1 from 16. So there's confidence issues. There's everything in this mix. Against Efes, it was a nightmare. Against Fenerbahce, you could see some lifeline. But then again, in the second half, we saw who's the better team. I still have a lot of belief that they will make it to the playoffs and they will be competitive. It's just that they have to sort out a lot of things inside the locker room, inside the team. Injuries don't help. Let's be real. And signing new players during the season sometimes can be tricky. Luvavuka Baro looks like a decent signing, but now we know the news about Kevin Pangos, and he got hurt, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. So they need to add somebody else.
But I'm happy for reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, so that's quite
reevaluated. So
after 6 weeks,
exactly.
That's
so he might be out even for longer.
Quite
time.
a lot of time. Although I'm really happy about Naz Mitrulong. The guy is proving that he belongs here, and we saw his potential in the Italian league last season. And Mitrulong, I'm not saying he's going to save the season for Milan, but he helps a lot right now in this difficult period.
And, the injury to Kevin Pangos, and I never wish an injury to a player, but Milan was a better team, much better team with Naz Mitrulong on the court. And Naz Mitrulong seems like the only guy who hasn't lost the confidence.
I wanted to say the same
in that team. He's the only guy that you see his movement with the ball, see how he's shooting, seeing how he's aggressive. He is still believing in him, because the other guys, when Devon Hall is shooting, he's, seems like somebody's forcing him to take these open catch and shoot opportunities. And you definitely need someone else right now if Kevin Pangos, but to promoting Naz Mitrulong to the first point guard, I think is going to help Milan, at least in the short term. Obviously, we have to understand that he's still a EuroLeague rookie. And you could see these little turnovers that he made in the second half against Fenerbahce, like 2 in a row passes, these high passes instead of just bounce passes. This is the little things that EuroLeague teaches you, I think, and he should be better with time. But there's just so many problems there in Milan that I don't know,
just
how
to
they're
add
going
about
to go
this
out.
point guard situation and Pangos being out, I'm just
Are
not
they looking
sure
for someone?
if they will for sure go for an addition, because they already registered 17 players. So they just have one license left for the entire season for in Italy. And that's the thing. Naz Mitrulong is the only guy on the team who is not afraid to make the shots, and he can make some crazy shots. Maybe that's the confidence boost that this team needs offensively. And sometimes in the situations where you're losing quality with basically, Milan is losing. They're missing 2 top 10 EuroLeague players right now. We did this EuroLeague players ranking before the season. I believe that both made top 10. Maybe Shields was 11. Anyways, 2 great quality players. But sometimes in the situations like this, if you lose quality, some others has to step up. They kind of know their roles, they know their minutes, and even though Naz Mitrulong will, continue making some crazy shots, he knows that probably he won't be substituted. So there's more confidence in these tough situations like this, and knowing that he's one of the better guys on the team. I think that Milan also, they will be patient. And in a way, how this transition happens, because he's a rookie, but if you remember, Devon Hall stepped up his game last year. There were other injured, missing players. He had to switch positions from basically a shooter of the team. He became a ball handler of his team. So I think they might expect that something like that can happen with Naz Mitrulong, and of course, Devon Hall also has to step up his game right now.
And they need Billy Barron.
Horrible.
And he came back yesterday. He played 11 minutes.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So, and he scored 10 points.
So he's going to be even more important right now with Kevin Pangos being
Just
out.
like in Zenit last year, he became a point guard when Shabazz Napier was missing.
What about Messina sending a message to Brandon Davis or whatever that was in the last game?
When he didn't play him, or he also said something in the press conference?
Oh, when he didn't play him. And we didn't hear anything about the
that's interesting.
injury.
He said something about that Brandon was just a bad fit for the game plan, or it was bad matchup for him.
The game. Brandon Davis is a bad fit for the game.
Yeah, when you're.
I'm not buying that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a hidden message that probably you need to change your or attitude or whatever. 0 minutes for Brandon Davis. I'm not.
That's a little bit disrespectful for one of the.
But
no, it's not disrespectful. The way Brandon Davis was playing last games, it's not disrespectful.
His decision making in some of those games was terrible. In Kaunas, for example, some of the decisions were shocking, really. And we know Brandon Davis as one of the best centers in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. So you expect a lot more from him. Of course, Messina has a lot of options. He has Kyle Hines. He can always go with Melli and Voigtman as 2 shooting bigs. And that's fair enough. But Brandon Davis not playing a single minute, that's something else. Because if we're talking about a game plan, then Davis could play 10 to 15 minutes instead of his usual 20.
We'll see. Because yesterday he played a lot against Treviso.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, probably that was a hidden message. Regarding this Messina's quote about his potential resignation, I think that that was a smart move by the coach because I think that he did 2 good things with that quote. First of all, you're kind of taking you're taking full responsibility and you're kind of 1 foot ahead of once again, this
all
is just
the rumors?
mind games. Yeah, you're 1 foot ahead of all the rumors, overreactions, and all the bad outside noise that is happening around the team. So this is one thing, and the other thing is that I kind of focused on this part where he said that maybe in the second round of the EuroLeague season, if the situation won't get better, I will resign. So it says to the player that, okay, if you're not on the same page, if you're, I don't know, whether it's Brandon Davis, whether it's any other player on the team, whether if you don't trust Coach Messina and his game plan, if you don't trust current situation, nothing is going to change quickly. I mean, he's not going to leave the team soon, the next week or in 2 weeks. He's there for at least 2 months. So instead of being pissed, instead of being angry of the situation, you also have to do some self-adjustments. And I know for sure that not all the players are on the same page in Milan, but it's natural. When the team is losing, I mean, it's just a natural thing to find some scapegoats. Usually the players who are not getting the freedom they want, they're not getting minutes they want. Usually they complain the most, and basically you have to go through these pains to find the unity of the team. So it's the part of the process. But I think that it was also kind of the message to the players that, okay, if you don't follow my rules, my line, I mean, you also have to do some stuff with yourselves, because I'm here for at least a couple of months. And
to me, that's not 2 months. I mean, the way he said it, if nothing's going to change in the second half of the season, I'm going to resign. To me, that's, after the season.
Okay, yeah.
If we do bad also in the second part of the season, then I will be resigning, maybe after the EuroLeague ends, or maybe even after the season. Like he will try to fix it himself. And, since it's all about just making the playoffs, I mean, if it doesn't get better in let's say the next 2 or 3 months, probably Milan is out of the picture for the playoffs, and the last 10 or 8 games are not going to change the situation, So it wouldn't make then a lot of sense to do the change, in March or April, just to, I don't know, just to win the Italian league.
Winning in the Italian league.
And it's a very delicate situation because Messina is not only responsible for coaching the team, he's responsible for building the team. So if anybody else steps in, replacing him during the season, he will have to coach the team that was built specifically for Messina by Messina. And I believe that in this case, Messina should have the right to finish the season. Whatever happens, happens. And if we see bad results, then he can step down after the season and you can start with you can have a fresh start because like there are probably a lot of veterans with 1-year contracts or 1+1 or something like that. So you could do a rebuild in the summer with a new head coach. But right now, I know that Messina is sending a message with these words. I think he should be trusted until the end of the season.
Yeah, great coaches turned it around before. For example, Željko Bradovic, when he was coaching, it was like 3 or 4 seasons ago. And Fenerbahce, after round 16, they had a record like 5-11. And they were, I think, 15th in the standings. I think that it was that infamous "fuck you, Datome" season. And then they fixed their game, they improved their game. And before the season, it was COVID season. Before the season was shut down, they were already in the top 8 race. And as soon as you get yourself together for the playoffs, I mean, everything can happen because they had all the quality, to beat any top 4 team in the playoffs.
In my opinion, they need like 2 back-to-back good games to get the belief back, where the shots go in, where you feel happy.
At home.
Preferably. In Mediolanum. Preferably, in Mediolanum. Because they still have the best defensive rating in the league? Or top 3?
They doubt it, my friends.
No. They had the best defense.
Like before this horrible week,
I told you in the Q&A pod, they were first.
So there's nothing wrong with their defense.
The worst offense and the best defense.
Yeah, so exactly. In my opinion, they just need...
They're still first. Wow.
They need 2 good games in a row to get the season going, in my opinion.
And now they're playing 3 out of the next 4 games away, where they have a better record. And let's try to look at these 4 games. They have Baskonia away, they have PAO away, Maccabi at home, and Crvena Zvezda away. I mean, these are all winnable games to me for them. And where do you think they're going to rack up victories? Just quickly.
I do believe, I genuinely believe that they're going to win 3 out of 4 of these games.
Of these?
I believe in that. Although Baskonia is always tricky.
I have doubts.
Baskonia is always tricky in Vitoria, especially.
When they catch fire at home.
Usually they catch fire at home, so...
Yeah, that's the thing. But they're facing the best defensive rating. So I do have some belief that this Milano team can start clicking.
Nazmi Trulong, 30-point game incoming.
Fantasy tip?
I have him already.
Okay.
It's a smart choice because Baskonia, first of all, is not a particularly great defensive team, and Mitrulong is now going to play extended minutes, so...
He knows he's going to play a lot, so...
Yep.
There was a lot of heat last week in Milan. We have snow outside here in Lithuania, but it seems like in Italy there was a lot of heat because not just the things that happen in Milan, but also Virtus game against Efes. Did you see Milos Teodosic?
Just completely losing his mind there.
Wow.
I mean, grabbing the leg first and then just getting into the referee's face. 2.
I was so surprised. He was so close punching the ref, actually.
He just lost his temper for quite 2 minutes, good 2 minutes.
Yeah, because even if he was reacting to the play before, I don't think that was a clear foul. I'm not sure if that was foul at all by Mbaya. I think that Mbaya was defending him and
just physical defense. You could whistle.
Maybe?
You could whistle that a foul. You could.
Yeah.
It depends on how the refs are seeing the game.
But then you're just trying to hold his leg and then attacking the ref. I was so surprised because the game was still tight. Virtus, they had chances. They were on a run, I think. So they had chances to turn things around. 5 minutes to play. So it was a surprising moment. And the same happened with Nicola Melli. I don't know if you remember the game against Fenerbahce where Nicola Melli, he also made this wrestling move against Nigel Hayes-Davis. After the rebound, he was like hugging like this, even after the whistle for a few seconds.
I mean, Hayes-Davis was like, took a swing at him. I don't know. Was it like this?
Because, he was doing like this for a few seconds and he just wanted to get away from that situation. So I was surprised that Melli stayed on the court actually, because it was more than just unsportsmanlike situation in my eyes. Yeah,
I don't know how refs are allowing like Teodosic get into your face. Like so close.
I mean,
he was like,
could you
do? Was like, that's a technical for you. No, that's like an ejection.
I think that. Oh yeah, but it was a straight ejection, no?
No, first he gave him a technical
for Mbaya and just for his harsh reaction.
Yeah, and then he continued that, and then it was like okay, he went because at first he was just standing like, and then he was like going straight into your face, like making this move, and it was like the ref stepped back took 2 steps back, and then it was like, okay, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Scott Foster.
Yeah, so maybe that's what happens when you got frustrated by losing.
Do you know who is the first from the coaches by the technicals?
Leading
the league. We had this
in
bet.
Technicals.
We had this bet before the season.
Who's leading the league right now in technicals?
Because I saw before the pod, I saw Darius Garualis, our stats guy, with the stat. Follow him on Twitter if you are not. And who is the first head coach?
I'm going to take a very random guess. That is Sasha Obradovic?
Nope.
No. Sasha Obradovic had only one technical, actually.
Only one?
Yeah.
No, Donatas, you can't look up now.
I mean, I saw the headline already, and during the pod, I watched the article, so I'm not just so Googling right now.
He knows.
I know. Yeah.
But why are you looking at the article during the pod?
Because I was just looking for some information about Milan, just to add with some advanced stats and stuff.
Okay, so just tell me, who is it?
Because he's Maksvytis. Yeah.
Two Lithuanian coaches.
This cold country. Oh, okay, Šaras is in Barca, but anyways.
Well, in Valencia, I have to give credit because he took a really technical foul, a really smart technical foul, because he saw some unfairness on the court, some missed calls, and that was very good timing for a technical, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's
what was our bet before the season. The coach who gets the most
technical.
Who's going to be the coach with most technicals?
You took Šaras probably, no?
Šaras, Ataman, and Trinkieri, I think.
I took Šaras. I don't remember which one of you guys took Trinkieri.
I didn't want to take the same one, so
I took Šaras,
something different. Probably Trinkieri. He is also doing good in this race with 2 technicals. Barsokas also has 2 technicals. So it's still a tight race.
Somebody took Ataman, I think. I'm going to find it.
It's one of the easiest.
He's been calm.
No, he's been really calm. Especially in that Barcelona game was the best example. I think this is it, right? We covered all the topics we prepared for this pod. We're already above 1 hour. Just a short look at this week. The best game of the week, I think, goes to Piraeus. Olympiacos is hosting Efes, right?
I think so.
So this is going to be a huge week.
It's on Thursday, right? It's on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday.
And on Friday, what is the highlight?
Fenerbahce, Real Madrid.
Fenerbahce, Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
2 games to follow this week.
Yeah. So
now gotta get back to the World Cup.
Now we have to
Serbia's
let
leading.
you go to
Cameroon.
2-1.
3-1.
3-1 already.
3-1. Sasha Mitrovic scored.
Who's dominating the World Cup right now?
All the underdogs.
I would say no one. Like, it's still the group stage.
Who's the most inspiring team? The most exciting team?
To me, the most exciting team is Spain for sure, the way they're playing. But they still haven't qualified. They have 4 points. So
Rytis yesterday during the game, he said, it's 0-0, but I'm enjoying this beautiful football. It's so interesting to see. So
it's sometimes really refreshing to see these 2 elite European teams facing each other after covering some of those
Morocco
more difficult, I would say, psychological and tactical games. Because when it's Germany and Spain, you're going to see pressing, you're going to see ball movement. The ball is always going to be in action and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was great. But so far I'm just enjoying the whole tournament and the whole experience. Like the drama about Argentina, the way they failed in the first game and they went to play against Mexico as a final and they were not playing particularly well, but all of a sudden Leo Messi
2 great goals.
reminds everybody about himself. So it's a good World Cup so far, even though it's hosted in Qatar and is being played in November.
Donatas, how many games have you seen?
0.
Oh my God.
And I'm completely cool with that. There's a lot of things going on.
Italy is
in my
doing
life.
well, you know.
Yeah, Italy. Man, I really believe in
The
them.
Italian ref or Sato is probably the best
The
referee
best
of the
ref.
tournament so far. So that's something.
So
Trust
Italy is doing
Chiellini's
well.
defense and the offense with Del Piero and Balotelli. I mean,
This guy said this
I'm
Miroslav
with them.
Klose is still in the offense for Germany.
He could do a job for them. Actually, they're still
help.
lacking of a number 9.
my only football I watch at home is my son just kicking the ball. He actually knows how to kick the ball already,
Great quality.
and he's enjoying. Yeah, great quality.
We should get
quality.
Rytis to commentate that one as well.
It's just tiki-taka, more of tiki-taka right there. Not many
that's,
goals.
That's great.
No, that's great.
I appreciate
I'm impressed.
it.
I'm impressed.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just don't let him play football in Lithuania.
Yeah, I know.
In
I know. That's
Lithuania.
my main goal. Is the
It's the
father. My main mission.
It's the worst country where you can choose football as a
Yeah.
sport when you're a youngster because
Yeah, this is my first agenda. Just not let him go play football. Probably the second thing, just to raise him as a good man, as an intelligent person.
That's the
third
second
one. Yeah. But don't let him to the football field here in Lithuania. Is the biggest priority.
I hope when he's like 20 years old and he becomes a world beater in football, a global superstar, he listens to the podcast
Yeah.
and thinks about how his father didn't want him to go through that.
LeBron wants to play with his kid. Rytis wants to commentate Donatas' kid playing football.
Yeah. We'll see.
That's
see.
it.
Let's meet not in 20 years, but the next week. And please don't forget to subscribe our channel. Press like button because it really helps us to grow. Give us 5 stars in all the audio platforms you're listening to us. And see you very soon.